big win for Bama, but we can move on to the last game we're going to break down in full, and that was the whiteout. Oregon goes on the road at Penn State. It's a defensive battle. Then points picked up in the second half. Oregon looks like they've all but sealed it. Dan Lanning does the throat slash celebration, and then Penn State rattles off 2 touchdown drives to tie it and send it to overtime, where they end up losing in second overtime, 30-24, on a Drew Aller pick. Initial thoughts on this game, guys?
Yeah, the game-winning interception. You'd already left. I
was there. I waited till the games were ended.
Okay. Sitting there, it was such a letdown of like, I can't believe it's over.
It just ended so fast.
It did, and because it was a whiteout, it was just quiet, and so it was kind of like, what's happened? Like, it felt like something, like there was something after that. It was like you at the end of a good book, and you're like, I need the next book, but you're just like, there isn't one. It left me feeling very empty inside, which, I mean, that's not like a huge like takeaway, but that's just kind of the reality. Sitting there watching it, it was kind of a huge letdown moment of this anticipation of like these two like elite Big Ten teams duking it out, James Franklin trying to get the win, and then that interception happens, and it's just quiet. But yeah, it was a huge win for Oregon. I think it was a bigger loss for Penn State, and we can get into a James Franklin discussion at some point, I'm sure, about how like this was. What did we in the preview, JP? You said this is the biggest game they've had. Just like every big game they have is always like the biggest game they have.
Yeah,
Until he wins one.
Yeah, until he wins one.
This is now he's now 1-16 against top. Actually, they were in top 5. He's now 4-21 against top 10 teams at Penn State. So yes, until they win one, which now the big one is at Ohio State, it's just going to continue to be a conversation.
They were top 5 in the People's Poll. That counts.
Yeah, then we'd have to go back and get People's Polls for the past 6 or 8 years. Notice I didn't say 6 or the other number. Good save from me.
Well done.
That's think on your feet right there.
Yeah, my initial reaction on the Penn State. Let's start with the Oregon side. On the Oregon side, Dante Moore really impressive.
100%.
Handling pressure, handling how really, really fast and physical that defense is. Tonight, Dennis Sutton was excellent. He again continued to rely on his receivers to make plays, and Decorian Moore. And they did. Like, he would throw 50-50 balls, and they made the plays. He'd put the ball in danger, and they would make plays. Decorian Moore was outstanding as a true freshman on the road against that Penn State defensive back group. And I thought that was really impressive. Even with the defensive kind of slugfest that it was in the first half, he handled it really well, handled the crowd really well. Dan Lanning said like that crowd, at least to him, felt like it is like a 7-point swing kind of crowd. And it showed that. And then I also thought it kind of validated the conversation that Oregon fans were having, that it feels like third time's the charm with Dante Moore, that guy could go and win the Heisman potentially if Oregon continues to win out. He's going to put up great numbers the rest of the year against Big Ten competition, and then with the way he kind of sealed that game against Penn State in the whiteout, that could be the Heisman moment potentially.
Yeah.
He's really, really good.
Yeah.
And he doesn't make a ton of mistakes. And like I said, the biggest thing I love about him is he gives his receivers a chance. And he's not just kind of throwing up lobs or anything. He's throwing it on the right spot. And really, like, he's making 50-50 balls, 60-40 balls.
Yeah.
And that is just something that only the really good quarterbacks can do. To be 29 for 39, 250 essentially, and 3 touchdowns on the road, wide out against Penn State's defense, triple thumbs up.
It's his first true road game.
Yes.
Do you know how many false starts they had in the whiteout?
I would 1.
They had 2.
Okay.
Penn State also
I
had
only
2.
remember 1.
So Oregon only committed 4 penalties, all offensive. So they just played a super clean game, and Dante Moore is a huge part of that. Like, he's not responsible for the O-line not flinching, but, like, commanding that offense the way he did. Super impressed by him. I'll be interested to hear y'all's thoughts on, like, I was pretty confident coming into this year that we were going to have 2 years of him at Oregon just because of his play at UCLA. He was pretty raw as a freshman, started, but then redshirts his sophomore year. If he wins a Heisman, are we talking about first-rounder Dante Moore? Are we talking about top 10 Dante Moore? Is he kind of working, like, is he playing well enough to earn that, JP?
I think he's playing well enough, but I wouldn't do it if I'm him. He's not big enough right now. I think that's the problem. And he may not get a ton bigger, but he just, like, he is clearly undersized when you see it on the same field as Drew Aller. And Drew Aller is a freak of nature athletically, or physically, maybe not athletically.
Yeah.
So I think he's not going to grow in a year, obviously, but he could put on weight, get stronger, be able to take hits better, and another year of development wouldn't hurt him. It also, you are going to make great money playing quarterback at Oregon, given the amount of NIL.
Some of the
they
best
have.
money in the country for sure.
You probably are going to make on par with what you'd make as a top 10 pick in the NFL. And yes, you could get hurt, but at least in recent history, Oregon quarterbacks haven't got hurt, and Oregon quarterbacks with Dan Lanning put up incredible numbers every single year that they play. So I would stay. He could play himself into that contention, but I would stay, especially given the quarterback class with Lenore Sellers, Drew Aller, Fernando Mendoza is playing himself up the board.
Did you say Nussmeier?
I haven't said Nussmeier. Like, I haven't said K. Klubnik. He could still play himself up the board. It's just like part of it is maybe you could go, and now you're going to be a spot where you're like the third quarterback drafted, and that means you're in a better spot. But I also think with the amount of money you can make in NIL at Oregon, and if you enjoy playing college football at all, you are going to enjoy playing it there and have a good chance to win a national championship. I'd stay.
The choice is at least going to become very tough for him.
Sure.
I do also wonder if he wins a natty, if it's like, I'm done, peace.
Yeah, or he's like, I get to throw it to Corian Moore again. Like,
Yeah, or that.
I'll come back and do this again.
But the way he's playing, he's definitely rising up draft boards, whether he goes or not.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought he looked like the better QB last night. Now, there are a lot of external factors for that. The Oregon offense is a lot more quarterback-friendly than the Penn State offense, and his weapons and receivers made more plays for him. But, yeah, I thought he looked more impressive. I do hate the one-glove look.
Yeah.
That is
As
not
you said,
at all
negative aura.
Negative aura. It's not at all one of my favorite QB looks. I know Kenny Pickett wore 2 gloves, but that's immediately where my mind goes. So, aside from that, though, the defenses were as advertised. Both teams had 1 field goal in the first half. The scoring, started to come later, but defenses were still making big plays. Dylan Thienemann's pick to win the game was a nice play. Like, that's what you want in that game, is the defenses to be like, yeah, all the talks about Drew Aller and all the talks about Dante Moore and DeCorian Moore and Penn State's running back duo, and will the Penn State weapons actually produce? But then the defenses are like, hey, we're here too. Like, we have studs up and down. Denai did a Sutton, Dylan Thienemann, Uyunglele on Oregon, just guys all around. So I love that part of the game. Talking about Penn State's weapons, let's see, I have it down here. They combined for about 60 yards. The 3 transfers, Kyron Hudson, Trevor Pena, and Devontae Ross, who had the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
What were y'all's thoughts on them and kind of that aspect of the game, or do you think that's just like an irrelevant conversation to have?
I mean, you wish they could have got more involved, but
Sure.
I think a large part of it was that the Oregon defense is playing so well. And they also are great receivers, but they're not pop receivers.
They're not DeCorian Moore.
They don't
receivers.
have. I don't think any of them have any draft buzz. Maybe
Jabor Pena
has some buzz, but I think that's gonna kind of pass away a little bit. I wish that they were able to kind of get to Pena especially more. They kind of answer they had a few wrinkles, but for the most part, they kind of answered the question of, did they save stuff? I don't know.
Yeah.
For offensively for Penn State, it was just disappointing that they weren't as successful running the football.
Sure.
Especially with Nick Singleton only has 20 yards on the ground. Like, that just can't happen. Katron Allen only had 50. They ran for 297 in last year's Big Ten championship game with the same backs, essentially same offensive line. They ran for 139, 22 of those yards coming from a wide receiver at home. That can't happen. That was kind of disappointing.
Agreed.
And I don't expect that to continue happening going forward, but it could happen against Ohio State, and that might be the reason they lose to Ohio State as well. That was a huge part of it. They could not establish enough of a ground attack, and so Drew Aller was getting guys in his face all night. He was being forced into throwing tough throws, which I thought did a really great job at, but they really couldn't establish a rhythm offensively.
Sure.
Outside of the 4-play touchdown drive to answer the touchdown and 15 plays all the way down the field, taking all the time and finally finishing off. But even that drive, large part of that drive was just Drew Aller kind of creating magic and extending and somehow getting just past the first down. He did that 3 or 4 times on that drive for first downs. So I think I felt like when Oregon goes up 17-3 and you look at, they show Deni Dennis Sutton and Tony Rojas and the rest of Penn State's defenders, for them to sit there in the fourth quarter, you're down 17-3 in the whiteout. I can't imagine they didn't feel just disappointed that we're doing the best we can. We're actually doing really, really well for the entire game, but our offense has 3 points in the fourth quarter at home. That, I think, has to be kind of your takeaway is, man, they just didn't get enough done offensively.
I agree. It's a disappointment in the whole, not just on the passing game. Anything there, Sanders?
No. Do we want to address James Franklin?
No, I want to address Drew Aller
first.
Cool. I thought Drew Aller was really, really good last night. With the way he controlled the line of scrimmage, the way he controlled his team, the way he played emotionally at times. The pick was bad, obviously. But like I said earlier, quarterbacks throw picks. I think he rose a ton. The way he dealt with pressure, to be with his physical gifts, he is able to make throws that just many other quarterbacks can't make off his back foot. There's one where his knee is basically falling to the ground. He gets it to a receiver. Those are the kinds of things that Drew Aller can do. And if he could just win some damn games that matter, which he won at Penn State, which is unfortunate, he, I think, would be consensus number 1 overall pick in the draft. He's that good from a quarterback perspective. Agree, disagree?
If you had to give him, let's do it like this. If you had to give him a grade for his game, what would you give him?
A B-.
Sanders, what would you give him?
I mean, I'm probably at the same. I guess my biggest question is how much of your thoughts on quarterback JP is finishing the job and going and getting a win.
I'm not huge on that for drafting quarterbacks.
Okay,
because in the NFL, winning matters. That's why I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league.
It's just it doesn't concern you at all, and I think you already kind of. I'm just going to readdress it. That the quarterback you're talking about being potential number 1 in overtime, game on the line, throws an interception. That's not like a receiver not getting the job done. Although that did happen, they didn't make enough plays for him throughout the game. So, but still in that moment, he doesn't see the linebacker or the safety moving over there to cover the flat, and he throws the interception. So that's I guess kind of the thing is you're looking for guys who are gonna make the clutch plays, not throw interceptions with the game on the line. And he definitely has also made clutch plays in the past. But I'm just kind of curious, how much does that play into your opinion of him?
I don't think it's that much of a factor, honestly. I understand it, but I mean I don't know off the top of my head, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find a bunch of other number one overall picks that didn't make mistakes in big moments. So I wouldn't say it's just unique to him.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think it matters too much unless it's a reoccurring theme, which I don't feel like it is for Drew. At least not enough. I don't think. Obviously, in most of their losses, it ends up being that they haven't scored enough points. But he also has kind of had no receivers, comparatively at least to the other guys that have been drafted that high in years past. Obviously, any of the Ohio State guys with their Ohio State receivers, Alabama with all of their receivers that they ended up having, Joe Burrow with his receivers. You think of the Oklahoma quarterbacks. You had CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown and all of that. Penn State has not had that really ever. He's had Tyler Warren. He's had tight end play and running backs. But it's a – I don't disagree. It's a bad mistake. But I don't think that one play should be the main takeaway, because I thought the way he played the rest of the game was great, especially like the way he controlled the line of scrimmage, the way he controlled the pocket, the way he controlled the huddle. I thought just showed amazing traits for a potential NFL quarterback.
My thoughts, B- is probably a pretty fair grade. I did like the way he controlled the pocket, talking about that, because that's something he's struggled with at times, not having fast enough feet, not being able to step up in the pocket to evade a rusher or step to the side to evade a rusher.
He was breaking multiple tackles.
So I like to see that.
Sacks.
I'm not sold on him as a QB prospect in terms of, well, it's just hard because it's hard to get past the fact of like no QB prospect, or almost very few QB prospects are like a sure thing, and he's not that. He has his flaws, but I can buy into the physical traits that he has. So I don't think I would take him first overall. I'd still take Lenoris.
Sure.
But, I mean, he's up there for sure. Do we want to talk about James Franklin now?
Yeah, so, Andrew said he thinks there's a chance that the Franklin tenure could come to an abrupt end in the next couple of years. James Franklin has elevated the standard. He's made the standard at Penn State 10 wins, and the ceiling is 10.5, maybe 11 wins. And that's kind of one of the side effects of playing in the Big Ten, where for his entire tenure, he's either had to compete with Ohio State or Michigan. You had Michigan State, who was really good in that 2015, making the playoffs. You have occasional, like an Iowa team that'll go 10-2. So the Big Ten has had some good high-end teams, the top one or two teams for his entire tenure. And so that's kind of, he's never been able to beat that team to get over the hill. And that's kind of what Penn State fans were hoping for at this game, was that he could get over the hill. And he doesn't get it done. And I think my main point would be, like, who are you going to get that's going to come in and consistently beat Ohio State? Like, I don't think you're going to get someone to come in and do a better job than James Franklin. He's been winning 10 games, 11 games a year. He got there in 2014. He won 11 games in 2016, and then since then, he's had 2 bad years in the COVID, or a 9-4 year, a 7-6 year, and the COVID year.
Yeah. I agree that it's like, who you're going to find that's going to do better, but fans don't necessarily work like that, right? At some point, I don't know if it'll happen, but I think it'll happen at some point. They will just get tired of the constant losing the big games.
They were chanting after Oregon scores touchdown, go up 17-3. They're chanting "Fire Franklin!"
Yeah,
"Fire Franklin!" in the stands before Penn State responds with 2 touchdowns.
I think it would be a mistake to fire him, but it doesn't work that way. My example is, it's not a complete 1-to-1, but like Auburn fires Gus Malzahn because he can't consistently enough win the big games, and 9-3, 8-4, 10-2. Like, that's not good enough. And now look where they are. They're on their second coach after him. They've
They're
had 4
about to be
straight
on their
losing
third
seasons.
coach.
They're about to be on their third coach. In in his final season, he won 6 SEC games. Gus Malzahn. Since then, they've won 5 SEC games total.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be a very similar situation to that. But the fans don't think like that. The fans don't care about that. And I'd be like, if I was a Penn State fan, I'd be really frustrated by it too.
Yeah.
So it feels insane to say this may come to a head in a couple years, but I do think McBride is right.
I think I'm on both sides, but I would be fine with moving on from him eventually. On the side that don't move on from him, he's risen the standard. They almost always get to 10 wins. They never lose games they are not supposed to, meaning they win all the games they're supposed to. But they never win the games they're not supposed to. The games they were favored in this game, but they just don't win those kind of high caliber games. Imagine if Penn State was in the other division in the Big Ten prior to all the teams joining the Big Ten. They would have made pretty much every Big Ten championship game because they were always better than Northwestern or Iowa, who was there
100%.
almost every single year. So maybe the thoughts would have changed because I think they probably would have won a Big Ten championship.
He would, if we had a 12-team playoff, he would have made a 12-team playoff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 12 years
Sure.
he's been here.
Yeah, that I would have helped them a ton there too. And given their NIL base and their grads they go on to be millionaires, all of them pretty much because they're really really
I think
smart.
I'm going to transfer to Penn State then.
It's part
You'd
of
have to re-enroll at this point.
True.
I got my master's.
Yeah, go get your master's at Penn State. They are gonna have the NIL base, and they do. And I think because of that, you could move on from James Franklin eventually, and find someone who could potentially have success. There's risk to that, but I also think maybe there's potentially success to it, and I don't think there's a problem with trying.
Sure.
That Auburn's the horror story. I'd say like Texas eventually figured it out. Are they ever going to win anything? No, because they're Texas, horns down. But they have figured it out. And then maybe there's a middle ground of like Oklahoma. I think is a middle ground right now with Brent Venables. They've had a really successful season. Injury loaded season, and I think they're going to have a very successful season this year post Lincoln Riley. So there's middle ground.
I think so.
It's not just Auburn that's going to happen to you.
I have another example. I
Sure.
didn't want you to leave the point. Georgia. I think Georgia's a good example. You dogged on Mark Richt earlier on the show, and you've done it previously. I don't know if I remember it differently. Mark Richt's tenure: 8-4, 13-1, 11-3, 10-2, 10-3, 9-4, 11-2, 10-3, 8-5, 6-7, 10-4, 12-2, 8-5, 10-3, 9-3, and fired.
Yeah,
The end of that year.
And the big story for them is almost identical to the story of Penn State.
That was my example.
They just don't win. They didn't win those big games, and like I said, like those Georgia teams found their way to Georgia, losing on the Hail Mary to Tennessee.
Losing
in the SEC championship because Aaron Murray checks it down.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Losing to Auburn many times. So yeah, that's
And
Georgia could be
they
a
fired the
success.
guy that took them to 10-2, 11-1, 9-3, 10-2, and brought in Kirby Smart, and they won 2 championships in 2021 and 2022.
That's a good point. Real quick, NASCAR All Out, we trade imaginary college football stocks. So if you're looking for real stock trading, we don't partake in that. So sorry to disappoint you.
This is honestly better.
Yeah, you
that
can stick
segment-
around for the college
That segment's
football.
actually coming up. Quick explanation. Basically, we just list something like Alabama to make the playoffs, and then all 3 of us will buy or sell. It's a fun segment. But yes, those are the stocks that we trade.
I have stocks
Yeah. If you want to DM
in a Roth IRA.
JP personally,
Yeah,
then
you're welcome to
do that.
talk to me. I can give you the stocks I have in my Roth.
It's a good point. It may not go terribly. It could work out. I just think I should fix my statement to say you have to do it realizing the risk, I guess. And I don't think
Yeah.
fans do that very often.
No.
They fire him, and it's all joy and hooray, like we finally fixed our problem. And that just isn't a guarantee. You got it. There's great risk
Yeah.
in firing someone that consistently wins double-digit games.
James Franklin is not Penn State's problem. Their problem is they play Ohio State and Oregon. And Ohio State and Oregon are really, really good at football.
Penn State's James Franklin's part of the problem.
He's part of the problem.
Okay, cool. Well, I might disagree with that. Andrew said buy NVIDIA.
I mean, at some point, the fact he hasn't won any of these games, like at some point that it has to reflect poorly on him. I get they play these great teams, but he never beats them. It would be one thing if he was like 25% against them even, but he's not even close to that.
He's 4-21 against
He's
top
like
15.
4-21 against top 10
150.
teams. And like Andrew pointed out,
15%.
one of those or two of those wins are against Iowa. So they're not
Fraudulent top 10 wins.
Basically.
Really, yeah.
So I think that's fair. Anything else on this game before we get to other takeaways?
No.
Cool. James Franklin.
Wait, one more.
Okay.
Go back to it. NBC did a fine job.
Wow.
All right.
It could have been better. ABC would have done better. But I thought they did a fine job.
We had that game muted for some of the time. It depended
Yeah.
on Georgia, Alabama, that one. So I can't give full confirmation. But I will say the fact that I didn't notice that it was bad speaks volumes to improvement.
It still
there.
bothers me that the first down line is red. I hate that.
Sure.
Because, like, it makes first down lines are red on fourth down. That's the way it should be.
Yes.
It's yellow. And then what's up with what color is their line of scrimmage? Is it red?
I thought the line of scrimmage was red.
That's
Yes.
what it is. The line of scrimmage is red, and the first down is yellow.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's this
first
normal
down is
color.
different.
But it makes it sometimes it looks like if it's a first and long and the first down is not on the screen, it feels like they're in fourth and short.
Yeah.
I hate that. And it's not like CBS has copyright on blue line of scrimmages or anything.
Sure. Yeah.
Like ESPN and CBS.
They just want to be
both-
different.
Yeah, I guess. Well, different is not
Valid.
working.
It
so-
was. I think part of it is just that it was comparing it to last week
Yeah.
with A&M Notre Dame. It was a big step up.
Andrew Wright makes a fantastic point. The John Fanta cut-ins, college basketball legend, huge improvement. You can't hate those at all. What a joyful guy John Fanta is.